In this video, I speak German.
The best. German, the best.
I visit America and I eat a protein bar.
6 years ago, I drove my Volvo XC90 T8 hybrid from outside of Oslo to Copenhagen, a trip that was 500 kilometers. I tried to drive that trip on one tank of fuel, which I failed to do because it is a large SUV. It was kind of cold that day, between 5 and 10 degrees Celsius, and also going on the motorway and that car having a small petrol tank meant that we had to stop and fill petrol at least once. Today we're doing the same trip, but even longer. We're going from outside of Oslo to Copenhagen. So instead of 500 kilometers, today we're going 615 kilometers. So I know with this car today, the way this is configured, and this being an SUV and all-wheel drive, we're not going to be able to do this on one charge. But I want to answer the question today: will this trip 6 years later actually be more of an inconvenience than the trip I did with my T8 hybrid? And if so, are we going to have any issues with any of the chargers? How much is this trip going to cost compared to driving that petrol Volvo XC90 T8? And I know these cars aren't, apples to apples comparison. This is a smaller electric SUV than that Volvo XC90 T8. A more fair comparison would be driving a Volvo EX90, but this is the car I have today. I'm going to Copenhagen to visit a friend for a leisure trip. And also, where are we going to stop to charge? Will we have any issues with any of the chargers? Will there be any queues? Now we are in July, so it should be the holiday season here in Scandinavia. I don't know. I'm going into this trip completely blind. I haven't driven the Macan in about half a year, so I'm going to have to make myself familiar with this car, because even though ideally a Porsche Taycan, the infotainment system here, the route planner, is different than the car I have. And also, I haven't been down this stretch of road in probably a year, and I haven't been down to Copenhagen in probably 2 years driving an electric car. So I'm going blind into this, but I want to find out with you guys, how much is the trip going to cost compared to traveling with a petrol car? Will there be more of an inconvenience? Will there be queues? And how long added travel time will we have on this 615 kilometer trip?
What I love with an EV is that you can start your journey with a full battery, granted you have a home charger or a public charger close by. Yes, filling up at the start of your trip doesn't add much time, but when we are measuring charging time, any added time is added time. So to be fair, you have to count it. And today being a Friday, as well as the start of the common summer holiday in Scandinavia and the weather being great, there was a lot of traffic and cars heading out of Oslo this morning. But once we got an hour out of Oslo, the traffic started dying down and I could start thinking about where, who, what, and when to stop and charge.
We've now crossed into Sweden and we've been on the road for almost 2 hours, and we're currently at 65% stated charge. And after about 160 kilometers, our average consumption is right around 22 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. And according to the car, we have a little less than 240 kilometers of range. And I think that is actually pretty good and better than I expected. So the past few times we've been down south towards Gothenburg, and this way we've had really bad luck with the weather. We've been, doing it in winter when it's cold, and then we're always heading into a headwind, a really strong headwind. That's usually the weather southward from Oslo to Gothenburg in winter. But now, from Oslo and all the way down to Malmö, we should have a crosswind, which isn't the best. And it is quite strong, like upwards of 7-8 meters per second. But it is a lot better than having a headwind. So what is impressive is that once I started driving, the car chose a charger that was 400 kilometers away. And I replaced that with an Ionity charger. So I checked, off the map, okay, we could go to Spekere, where we've been many times before. Usually it is very full because though they have, added more chargers, it's a busy point. There's a new charging station right north of Gothenburg at Kungälv by a shopping mall. which means we can, go a little bit further. But when I put that into the car was like, yeah, you're gonna ride there like 25%. So I chose one on the south side of Gothenburg called Varberg, and the car now says we're gonna ride there with 7% state charge, and the car wants us to do a 15-minute charge, which is insane. So like, I thought maybe we would be doing I was pretty confident that we're gonna have to do 2 charging stops because, this road here is 110 and 120 kilometer an hour speed limits, and then, maybe having that headwind. But no, like either way, the car predicts 1 charging stop for 15 minutes. And what is crazy is that we've been on the road for 2 hours now. I've chugged down 2 of these Cola Zeros, and maybe in like half an hour or an hour, I have to go to the toilet and stop. And what we're not gonna do is we're not gonna charge when I'm going to the toilet. We could, to add that to the charge time, but this trip is kind of to prove a point that you can easily travel with an electric car and it's not gonna be an inconvenience. Like, we're gonna stop here at Ionity Varberg, that's the plan, and I'm 100%, 110% confident we're gonna make there without any problems at all. But we're gonna go there, and then I'm gonna go eat lunch at the McDonald's. Yes, guys, I've talked about this before. When I travel in Norway or in Europe, I like to eat at McDonald's. Just try McDonald's in different places. I never eat at McDonald's. Like, otherwise, I eat very healthy. I eat a lot of fish, and for the most part, I don't eat a lot of meat. But when I'm on a road trip, like, that's my guilty pleasure, going to McDonald's, and that's what I've been looking forward to for this trip. But that lunch is going to be more than 15 minutes. So, like, if nothing unforeseen happens, or we're not going to have any problems with chargers, or it's suddenly full, which I don't think it's going to be at this charging station, this is going to be a breeze. This is going to be a piece of cake.
And talking about cake, I was now getting very hungry, so I had to eat this protein bar that I brought along. And if I didn't bring along this protein bar, I would have to stop and buy one. Most service stations in Norway and even in Sweden actually have chargers. And this means doing a quick stop and charging for 5 to 10 minutes wouldn't actually add any time to my trip. And after chugging down the protein bar, I realized that I was out of drinks. So I actually had to stop and get another Cola Zero. But what I didn't do was top up on any electrons, because I was determined that I could complete this trip with only that 1 charging stop and not having to top up anywhere.
And this car, what a car. So this is the Macan 4 on 22-inch wheels. Not the most efficient setup, not the most quiet setup, but it is pretty decent and nice. This has the upgraded Bose sound system, which is very nice. I have that in my Taycan, my private vehicle, but here the cabin is just bigger, so I think the sound permeates more. There's just a little bit more room for the sound stage here, and it just sounds better. And also ADAS, and now we're on a smooth patch of asphalt, and it is so silent. We're going 120 kilometers an hour, and even this car without the double pane glass is very, very quiet. It is very impressive. And also the ADAS, the Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, is flawless. It's one of the best I've tested in a long time. The operation with a stock down here, which is my favorite way, like, buttons are nice, physical buttons, but when you have a separate stock, that in my opinion is the best. It's German, it's the best way to do it. And it just tracks, dead center, super confident. It doesn't get, confused when you change lanes or when there's an on-ramp or an off-ramp. And also passing a truck, no phantom braking at all. And the best thing is that if I just let go of the steering wheel now, after a second or two, it will give me a message to put my hands back on the steering wheel. But I just have to do this. Right away it's gone. Because instead of there being, a sensor that detects input, there's a pressure sensor. So as long as you just have your hand on the steering wheel, it doesn't bother you to nugget like some, like Polestar do that, like the Polestar 2 and maybe the Volvo EX30 or EX40 and other cars. We constantly have to go like this. This is like one of the best ADASs I've experienced in a long time, and a far cry from when I the last time drove this road with a BYD Seal to the Volvo ES90 launch. That car was so frustrating and hard to drive on the motorway because of the ADAS, because of the steering calibration. This is just awesome. I really, really like this car.
After 3 hours and more than 300 kilometers, we had now made it to Gothenburg, and the car was flawless, having nearly 30% charge left. Despite the roads being very busy and the occasional shower here and there, the Macan was going strong, real strong, and it would be almost another hour before we had to stop to do our first and only charging stop.
Okay, so this charging station is very full. They only had 6 Ionity chargers and they were bundled up, not very practical. And on the other side over there, people were just parking like, I don't know, like idiots, but it's probably because people came before, like this guy in this EV9. Maybe he parked like this because he couldn't get to the charger, but thankfully I was able to pull it over the car and just leave it there very carefully. But today, a lot of traffic. It is, you know, the beginning of July, so it is the common holiday in Scandinavia, so there are going to be a lot of cars, and today is Friday, so people are on their way out of the city. And also, like the trip, oh, now we're connected. I'm going to show you guys, okay? So the car said we need to charge for 15 minutes and then we will arrive in Copenhagen with 2% stated charge. We arrived here with 11. The car, you know, the last time I checked said we're going to arrive here with 9. The last time I gave you guys an update, the car said 7. So, you know, it's been really reliable, the route planner. And now we're getting, you know, more than 270 kilowatts, which is the peak charge speed of this car. Claim peak charge speed, we're getting close to 280. So the trip, you know, once we get into Sweden, over the border and to Gothenburg, and to, you know, about, we're like 45 minutes south of Gothenburg, it is very boring. It's just woodland and it's just straight motorway and a lot of traffic. And then, you know, the sky started to cloud up. We had a little bit of showers and it was so boring. But hopefully the trip from here and down to Copenhagen, and especially crossing the Öresund bridge, will be a lot better. But now we're just going to leave the car here. You know, I've already stopped once to go to the toilet. I could have charged then. We could have, you know, topped up even 5%. But now we're going to eat. I'm going to go to the McDonald's. And, you know, this is going to, my lunch is going to take more than 15 minutes. And also over here, they have a lot of Circle K chargers. They have also a charging station over there. They have different providers, even more Circle K chargers, and then Tesla superchargers. So there are a lot of chargers in this area, but I really wanted to go to Ionity because it is the cheapest. If you have the Ionity passport, it's like 3 kroner per kilowatt hour. And also this car has plug and charge. So it's just to plug and then we're charging. So we're already getting like, we're only getting more than almost 280 kilowatts now, which is insane. 278, we're at 20% stated charge. So guys, this car charges like a beast. And we were able to cover 373 kilometers with 33 kilometers of extra range to go with 11% stated charge left. And when I was sitting planning this trip yesterday, not just planning, but I was, you know, wanted to reference my XC90 trip down here a few years ago, or 6 years ago, we were only able to go 393 kilometers with that car, a petrol hybrid. So it's pretty insane that this car, of course, different conditions, but still that this car, 6 years later, this electric car is able to go further than that XC90 T8 hybrid I had.
As planned, I ate my lunch at McDonald's, and as soon as it was done, I hopped into the car and was ready for the last leg. With 243 kilometers to go, the boring scenery between Strömstad and Varberg was now swapped out for the Kattegat Sea and the Öresund Strait. But the real highlight of this trip is, of course, the engineering marvel that is the Öresund Link, which is now celebrating 25 years of operation. It is a combination of an 8-kilometer bridge, a man-made island, and a 4-kilometer tunnel that connects Norway and Sweden to the continent. This connection makes the 615-kilometer trip from Oslo to Copenhagen shorter in time than driving from Oslo to my hometown of Bergen in Norway, despite being 115 kilometers longer.
After 7 hours, we are now here in Copenhagen, and it has been a very uneventful, drama-free trip, except for a lot of traffic. I mean, traveling on a Friday in the beginning of the common holiday, there's going to be a lot of traffic. And once we got to our charging stop in Varberg, there were a lot of people, but fortunately we were able to get to the chargers very quickly without any queues. So I charged for a total of 28 minutes. I just charged until I was done eating, and then I came back to the car, and the car was at 87% state of charge. So no added travel time, because we arrived here with 27% state of charge, and that means we were here with a lot of battery, and it charged until I was done eating. I just got back to the car and I disconnected and I got underway. And I even stopped earlier to go to the toilet. That was a 5-minute stop, and if you were to add a 5-minute charge stop on top of that, that means arriving here with even more battery. So the story of today's trip is that there's no added time to this trip for charging if you're going to stop and eat, or if you're going to stop and go to the toilet. And I'm a human being going on a 7-hour 615 kilometer trip. I'm gonna go to the toilet, I'm gonna buy something to drink, and I'm gonna eat, because especially during a leisure trip. But if you're one of those people who are like, you're gonna go 7 hours straight, you're not gonna stop at all, well, then this electric car may not be for you. But I'm pretty sure there is a sedan with rear-wheel drive and a big battery that is gonna be a lot more efficient than this electric SUV. But either way, today's trip was uneventful, and it was so chill, and I think it was faster, and I was able to go longer than with my XC90 a few years ago. So I'm going to drop the pricing for you on the screen down below. I haven't done the calculation. So guys, tell me what you think about the Macan. It is a beautiful car, so nice to drive, and I've just been enjoying myself. The comfort, the quietness of the cabin once I got to the asphalt here in Denmark, and also the ride quality on air suspension is impeccable. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below, and for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.